Taiga, the data analytics company that works with convenience retail chains. So today's session is, topic is smart retailing using end-to-end retail automation. We're going to talk about leveraging analytics and then how that plays out from some smart retailers' perspectives here. We've got a couple smart retailers sitting up here with me that are gracious enough to join me today. So Alan Meyer and Bryan Benner here. We'll kind of do a little bit further introduction here in a minute, but M-PACT had a couple of housekeeping things for me to hit on first here. First of all, there's a survey for the session in the M-PACT app. You can also get to it from the last slide. We'll have a QR code on it, so snap that. You can go in and just click the rate icon in there and give a great review of what we're an entertaining way to spend your Thursday morning here in Indianapolis. So second item, they've added an additional session at 2 p.m. today called Food Service Essentials, Fueling Profits, Food Strategies for Convenience Stores with Bryan Benner from Core-Mark, and connect the dots on incremental revenue with Matthew Stark from Dippin' Dots. At the end, there'll be some prizes, food, and dessert. So they wanted to make sure that I let everybody know about that. So first here, we'll kind of start with further introductions here. I guess start with you down at the end there, Bryan. If you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Bryan Benner. I'm Vice President of IT for Moto Mart convenience stores. We're in 6 states throughout the Midwest with 85 locations.
Thanks, Bryan. Alan?
Alan Meyer, CEO of Mach 23 locations, 1 in Indiana, 22 in Illinois, building 2 more right now.
Awesome. As I said, I'm John Oakley, President of Taiga Data. We work with convenience retailers around the U.S., just helping you to really be able to leverage your data using analytics. Our whole mantra is giving you the answers you need at the time you need them. So regardless of who you are within the organization, whether you're in a senior leadership role or running IT or marketing or operations or a district manager or even a store manager, everybody is making decisions throughout the day. They need to have information and data to back that up so they know how to make the right decisions. Kind of goes back to the old Peter Drucker adage of what gets measured gets managed. And so that's kind of getting into the flow of the topic of what we're going to go over today. We're going to kind of talk about how to leverage data and analytics, what's capable of today versus in the past, what kind of things that you can be doing from all sorts of different perspectives within running a great retail operation. I guess quick temperature check to start off, Alan. What's top of mind for you for 2024? What do things look like?
Well, I'd say a big thing is volatility and trying to see what the new world looks like. For COVID and all this stuff, you pace of change in our industry was easy to manage, and you just kind of kept with the same strategy and kind of had a good idea where things were going. COVID happened, obviously it was a big shock to our industry and everybody's industry, and trying to figure out, okay, here's this massive loss of sales, and how are we going to be able to make a working business model out of this, and then obviously all the change out of that. Then you get into the big hiring issues and the massive wage inflation that we've had, and trying to navigate the new world today. And where are we going right now? Those are a lot of the things that we are discussing, is how do you go to market today with everything that's constantly changing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's like we talk before how you guys grow and profit 3 and 10 cents at a time, but those have exponential impact on all these different decisions that you're making. So really being able to know that you're making the right moves with all the turnovers.
Exactly. I always think of it as, there's no secret home run out there, especially with today's access to information. everybody kind of knows what they're doing, so there's no secret here that is a get rich quick type of thing. Where success is a series of singles, you know, it's just, you know, chopping that tree every day and trying to be better today than you were yesterday.
Bryan, your perspective, what's top of mind for you, 2024?
From an IT perspective, I think, to Alan's point, in a different world, you really have to, before you implement anything, you really have to ask yourself, is this going to return?
Is it gonna work? Is it gonna return?
You know, and return any sort of investment, or more so, will it be customer engagement? You know, so many times I've been tasked with installing this, that, and the other, only to find out that, you know, the adoption rate from the customer is not there. And so, how do you back yourself out of that sort of situation? And that's why, using your software too, we're able to go, hey, like, we had a conversation about displacement of registers in our store. We were able to use your heat map and go, okay, just having this register here, did this increase movement through that register, or did it decrease? So things like that. So it helps us kind of manage that aspect there.
I love what you said there about the customer adoption side, where, you know, there's been things, my COO is in the back there, and, you know, we do a lot of strategizing, and we'll talk about things, and it is amazing how often that you're talking about a marketing plan or a model or something you want to implement, and you're convinced it's gonna be a home run, and customers don't buy into the program or whatever you're doing like you think you would, and then there's other things where it's like, man, that's not gonna work, and that's a home run.
It's gonna be gangbusters.
Yeah, customer behavior is, man, that's a hard nut to crack sometimes.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Bryan, just, you know, from the IT background, like, what did it look like a few years ago for you, you know, as far as, you know, where you were getting information from, where you were getting data from, pulling reports and those sorts of things versus what you can do now with all this stuff we distill down for you quickly, you know?
Yeah, our back office software obviously was doing its job of, you know, allowing our managers to do the report and the like. Same thing for our home office and CFO. What we found was almost like the reporting aspect was maybe not an afterthought is the right word, but to mine that data was very, very difficult. The end users had a very difficult time trying to navigate that portal, that whole experience was painful for them, and then we found out they just weren't using it. And so when, you know, begin to look at your product, and our operations department came to me and said, hey, we'd like to put, I kind of rolled my eyes, not against this product, but I rolled my eyes. Because, you know, anytime I see getting something handed to them, you kind of go, oh, how many hours is this gonna take? And I told John this many times, this isn't a sales pitch. In my 25 years, this was the lightest IT lift I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, how many hours did it take you?
Less than 10, yeah, less than 10. And the beauty of it, the point I'm trying to make is now with your software in the hands of our employees, and when I mean employees, I mean everybody at the home office, down to the store managers, they're in it because it's easy to use, very little training, if at all, was required, and it's just, everything you need is right there. So from my end, I'm like, wow, this is great, I don't have to train and retrain and retrain and retrain, because it's just that easy, yeah, so.
It's gotta just work, it's like this, you know, it has to be this simple, otherwise people won't use it. And if they're not using it, it doesn't have any value, it's not making a return for them, and then they're not going to, you know, be able to get anything out of it. You know, might be there for them. You know, you were talking the other day, like, you know, you're out at a site, you talk to somebody, you got a great idea, like, oh, I'm gonna check this when I get back to the office. Hell no, you're not.
No,
You got
exactly.
10 million other things to do.
Yep.
Like, when you get back there, your mind's in a different place, but if you can look right then, like, no, we're gonna do this, we're gonna double down on doing this, and you can make more money.
And, talking about your story, I mean, me and Dave have been looking for a platform like you were offering forever. We've tried different companies, and the implementation just, God, we never got it working, and it was just banging your head against the wall. You know, and we were always really good at the 10,000 foot view. We knew how much money we made, and we knew how much money we were making by category, but to figure out what you were making within these categories and where you could possibly make more money, get somebody in the office to spend hours compiling it, and then they would send it to you in a report, and then you have to make sure you look at it. Then if you're looking at over periods of time, you may want them to go grab more data, and then when Bill with your company called me, the same thing, he says, why don't you just give it a try? I'm like, well, I'd love to. I'm like, how long is this gonna take? He goes, I'll have your data in a week. And I thought, there's no way. I go, you are such a liar. And 48 hours later, I was live on your database, and I was just in disbelief. I'd never seen that before. And yeah, like you said, at your fingertips. So now you come in the store, and whether it's talking with the store manager about your food service, or going to look at the cold case and seeing where product placement is, you can see how this category, the items in this category are doing by item today compared to over time, compared to what you had before. You can easily figure out what you're selling and not selling, what needs to be pulled out of the store. From a merchandising perspective, it takes what used to take days to compile and figure out what you're looking at, that you can literally do at the store while you're looking at it, just looking at your phone, or a tablet, or a PC.
Alan, I would say you're a connoisseur of, new technologies that we
Now,
try a lot of things and
yes.
tinker a lot.
Oh, yeah.
How has opening up access to this information to make it easy for you, how has that changed how you thought about, how we roll out new stuff?
Well, I think the big thing is, kind of like we were touching on earlier there, where, there's things that I think are gonna be a home run, and whether that's marketing or merchandising or whatever, or, some of the loyalty strategies we've done. You gotta get real careful about doing things and making decisions that you think is what your customers want, and not making sure that the customers are gonna tell you what they want. They're gonna tell you that in their purchase behavior.
Mm.
So the data needs to back up what you're trying to implement as a retailer. And before you roll out a program, I'd get with accounting, they would send us our reports of basically our sales, or we'd get with the manufacturers, the vendors, and they would send us their basically our purchases. All that was time consuming. Now, you can sit there and in real time, while you're sitting there, at a moment, say, okay, here's a program, we're doing one at the store right now with some media and marketing, and we can sit there at the store with the food service guy, and we can look at these items and what we're selling at this price point versus what the old price, price elasticity analysis. I mean, your software is made for that. You can see what did your customer behavior change based on what price points you went to.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bryan, how about for you? How is having this level of accessibility? How has it changed how you think about your roadmap, from technology roadmap, and then comfort rolling out things to different other departments and down the store level within Moto?
Yeah, I think it's really been beneficial to me. A great example is we were looking at putting tablets in the hands of our marketing department, and we kind of thought, are they gonna utilize it, or is it just gonna be a tool they're gonna use sitting in their living room? Well, what we found out was, out of the gate, I had 3 of them that said, probably within the first week, said, don't take this tablet back from me. They said they're actually in the store in front of a gondola or a kiosk, looking at the data in real time, and they said, to what you said earlier, before they would have to go back, try to remember to research if something they moved to that spot helped or it didn't help. Or they'd have to listen to a manager go, our customers are telling us, you need to bring this in because it'll really sell, because they bring it in and it doesn't sell, now they're sitting on all this product. And in fact, it was interesting, Monday, Derek is one of our field marketing personnel. He said, I actually saw it work in real time. I think it was hair boot candy or something. There's something we're getting a rebate on apparently. Yeah. I think we don't know about that kind of stuff. He said that they had been placed at this end cap on the other side of the store, and he was looking at sales, and they were literally 0. And while he was there, he took a box and he put it And he said, while he was there, he circled back, and there were 3 bags that I had sold. So he said, I actually, because he goes, it was kind of this exciting moment, like, oh, I'm seeing what I did in real time, that it made an effect, it made a change, so,
Yeah, so just
yeah,
turning little dial here, little
Yeah.
dial there, yeah.
yeah.
This is working here, that's not working over there, let's try something a little bit different. And it just empowers, everybody within the organization to do that, When you can measure, then you know what's working. And you gotta be able to get to it. Alan, how has this changed, like, confidence level and stuff like that, and how you, act and react with, competing with larger chains? As a regional retailer, what's that look like for you?
Larger chains have benefits of scale that we're not gonna be able to get to. So what is our competitive advantage over larger chains that they can't compete with us on? To me, that is the ability to have key decision makers. We can go into the stores, we regularly go into the stores and are having face-to-face conversations and can make decisions at that point in time in the store that, these 1,000, 1,500 people chains, they can't execute at store level with the people at store level. There's just too many people, there's too many stores to be able to get into the stores and deal with it on a case-by-case basis. So, we've talked a lot about price elasticity and merchandising for through software. Another big one for me is traffic, customer traffic. So you go into a store and your store manager may say, man, we are slammed in the evenings and we need to relook at the schedule. We need to do this, we need to do that. And when you are a store manager and you're in the thick of it and you can see customer lines, what you're seeing makes you want to react right there on the spot and fix the problem.
Yeah.
But the data is gonna tell you what you need to do. So when you get conversations like that, you can say, well, here, let's pull it up. So you can pull up your software and you say, okay, in the last 4 Thursdays, from that 5 to 10 hour, like you're talking about, here's your traffic. And that's how it relates to what it was before that. You can have scheduling conversations live as you are day by day. To me, having that ability to where the executives can have these types of high level decisions with the store manager on a case by case basis.
That's awesome.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, on a larger chain compared to a smaller chain, implementing the software, is this something that you come in and do, or is it something that the IT department, maybe a smaller chain doesn't have an IT department? How does that?
Yeah, so,
that functionality
so
is-
most of the work falls on Taiga.
Okay.
With our process, basically we have a kickoff meeting, we go over the basics of the project and those sorts of things, then we have a follow-up meeting with the IT team, setting the expectations there. Integration points are very simple. We're connecting a point of sale for real-time transactions, probably connecting into back office for price book and costing data and stuff like that. Maybe we're connecting them to some cloud mobile point sales and stuff, but they're all pretty straightforward things. It takes about 15 minutes max per store to do our installation, so we'll usually knock that out for typical small mid-sized change over the course of a week to 2 weeks. Set aside maybe a 2-hour session where we remote into all of them, do them all at once, or we'll split that over, whatever the schedule works for the chain, whatever's best for them. So it's pretty. Would you guys say?
Yeah, I mean, I think
relatively
the big thing is that, you aren't creating the wheel in the sense that this information is locked under key and not going somewhere. Most
Exactly.
people have a back office somewhere. Most people are sending a lot of this data to the tobacco companies for loyalty scan. Where your role fits in this is you're taking that same data points and you're throwing it all into one database, and so you can look at it in comparison. So, you can look at our loyalty information as part of our total transaction analysis, as part of our, customer accounts.
Exactly.
The data is there to grab, you're just grabbing it all and putting it on that.
Our job's collecting it, organizing it, doing the math for all the KPIs for you, and that's where we see, that's where our benefit comes in for you all. When you kind of think of like a build versus a buy perspective, maybe you get something like, Bryan, like Power BI or something like that, and, have some programmers build on the dashboards and stuff like that Taiga will provide for you guys out of the Mach. But does that really give you guys a competitive advantage to do that, or are you better off working with a partner like Taiga, where, there's really no I would say no strategic advantage to you guys to coming up with a new KPI, if it's the same, you're all, doing the same type of things, it's how you guys are using them, might be using, sales per square foot in a different way than Alan is, or you might be doing, some, different analysis off of, labor analytics and stuff like that, or trying to drive employee retention and stuff like that through a bonus program or whatnot, whereas another chain might have a different strategic.
Well, that's the big thing, John, like you're talking about where, I've been customer of yours for about 2 years now, something like that. And people come up to me and say like, so what is Taiga and what do you use it for? And so, I'll give them kind of the rundown of kind of how we've used it. But the important part is, how I use it versus how Moto Mart uses it versus all your customers. People have different priorities and different mindsets of how to run their business. And that's what I love about yours the best is, one, your brother being a big one, but you have some amazing people. And when we'll be sitting in a strategy session, saying, man, I would love if Taiga could do this. And it's gotten to the point now where I just click on the little thing, I send it to Aaron, and an hour later, yeah, I'll have that to you tomorrow. And it is your ability to respond and say, yeah, we can get that. Not only your ability to put the reports together that an hour ago I didn't even know I wanted, but even better, like Moto Mart's got a lot of people a lot smarter than I am. They might tell you the same thing, I want this, this, and this, and you guys create that for them, and I get access to that same thing that you create for them, because, what you get as a platform, I get as a platform, there's things on there, it's like, holy crap, I didn't even know Taiga was gonna offer that, and, we have to constantly go through there and say, okay, what's new on the Taiga platform?
Yeah. And then you brought up a good point there with the part that Aaron manages with our education programs and those sorts of things. Like, having a partner that, knows the best practices, knows where the information is, how to, educate the folks on your team to be really effective with it and give them ideas that are gonna help drive them to the goal they're getting to. That's a really, really important piece of being able to be effective with the analytics. So you're not gonna be off on your island alone. You got help.
Exactly.
Not gonna have analysis paralysis. Like, I know I can get to this. I just don't know exactly how I'm gonna use it. Having that help. Bryan, like for Moto, which roles do you think, over the next quarters, are gonna be benefiting the most as you guys further roll out,
Yeah, so
the capabilities?
definitely our managers, so we've started a different, bonus, platform for our managers. And what the feedback we were getting was, okay, we have to trust the data that the home office is sending us, so it has to be right. So our operations department said, hey, that's not fair to our managers, because that's an awkward position. How about we give them access so they can look at it, keep track of where their bonuses are gonna end up, and they can actually impact that in real time and go, oh, I'm not gonna get as much as I wanted because this category's down, or this SKU is down, or this KPI is not where it needs to be, and I can react. And so, there's no surprises, there's no lack of trust, for a better term. It's all right there for them to use and gather in real time, so.
How about you, Alan?
Yeah, so, for us, well, I think first and foremost is the buyer and the merchandisers. So, be able to go in and meet with your vendors. Dave does this all the time, where you know, he's walking in and it never fails. He'll walk in with the manufacturer and he'll say, well, let me show you your sales and what we have done for your company. And when we first rolled out your software, he's told me the story all the time. He's like, no, let me show you what we've done. And not only are we gonna look at what your sales and your performance is, but we're gonna look at your competitor sales and their performance. And I'm not having to trust the manufacturer's data and them telling me what they brought to the table. And
Or the big binder, this is what you need to put in that cooler.
exactly, I mean, he should be telling the story more than I should be, but what's great is the first year that we were on your platform and he was negotiating rebates and pricing. And when he would literally just pull his monitor around, he's like, well, I'll just show you what you're doing, you know, Mr. Cooler guy. And, oh, by the way, your competitor that did this, his sales are up double what yours are. So, like, maybe we should start talking about cooler placement, product placement, or rebates, or we do, a monthly promotion type of programs. So I think that's first and foremost is from the buying perspective, merchandising and product placement.
Mhm.
But then when you get to the store level, the ops, so the COO down to the DM, and the DMs working with the GMs. So we are on a similar bonus program. To me, I think it's very important for the managers to see the benefit financially of the success of the company. So we have a lot of conversations like you just described there. And so hypothetically, I could be going to one of my stores or one of our ops people will walk to our store and we'll see a cooler that's, you know, maybe the energy door is 60% stocked. And maybe we're out of a very specific category. We can now go to that store manager and say, here's what you sold of that product in the last 30 days. Here is what the company's making off that. And right now, if I wanted that product, it's not even in there to sell. So,
Right.
you know, when you're having conversations about making sure your cooler stocked, making sure everything's front of face, making sure your alcohol area is properly stocked, it doesn't have to just be, hey, make sure you get that stock. You can put real dollars, you can show the managers the true value at a dollar level to all these things.
Bryan, any thoughts, you know, how's it changing how, Moto thinks about how they market and promote, vendor relationships as sort of thing?
Yeah, well, to Alan's point, the feedback I'm getting from, our president of marketing is to his point where he is able to keep salespeople a little more honest as opposed to being, I've got an ROI that proves, and he's like, well, I got data that says otherwise, or sometimes it's a better return than anyone ever anticipated, and this tool, again, provides that in that real-time scenario.
Yeah.
And I was telling you both, our operations, this kind of fits into an IT situation too, where all multiple departments, that we put, you know, very expensive digital signs in our stores, big marquees. And we kind of thought, it looks nice, of course, does it make an impact?
Yep.
So, you know, we did this test at 3 locations and put, just 3 products out there for 30 days. Then we see an increase in that 30. So that helps us make, and went, okay, well, maybe it didn't have the bang for the buck that we thought. You know, it's those sorts of things that help us kind of go, okay, these CapEx funds are probably better spent here as opposed to something like that, or it enables us to look at even physical things in stores and do they make a difference, so.
So, to touch on that same subject, so we're running a pilot program. We got this, we put in some media at one of our stores, and the whole idea is to try to get people from the pumps inside the store. And, we are running some pretty aggressive promotions, and it's trying to figure out the true value of how do you change the customer's behavior, someone that was just gonna get gas to come in the store. And we've been running this program now it's only been 3 weeks. And I'm watching, and we did some really aggressive promotions, and I'm watching the sales of these items that we've got on the promotion schedule. And, you know, we're obviously seeing huge increases, and I'm watching this every day. And like an idiot, I didn't even think about it, but I'm watching mostly the sales of the promotions, and actually, Dave, you don't even know this yet, but I was at, I guess I should add, is before I ran this, I'm like, John, we're gonna run this pilot program, would you work with me in figuring out the true value of what this is, cause it's a test case, to where I wanna take it company-wide. So I saw John on Tuesday, and he goes, did you look at the reports that I sent you? And I hadn't yet. And he goes, did you look at the fuel conversion rates? I'm like, no. He goes, the 2 weeks before you ran your promotions to the 2 weeks since you started running your promotions, your conversion rate is up 6%. So he can track the transaction based on the last score of the card at the pump. If he sees that exact same transaction inside, he knows that that customer, you got that customer in the door to buy something. The 6%, I mean, obviously the sample size is small, but having that at your fingertips, I mean, the rabbit hole that his software can go, it really goes anywhere you wanna take it. You gotta figure out what's important to you.
Exactly.
It's really, what we are trying to do, one of our things that we wanna get better at is converting our fuel sales to non-fuel sales. And this program, we're spending several thousands of dollars to do a similar signage program like you're doing. But if you're not changing customer behavior, then what, at the end of the day, what did you achieve?
You gotta be more than just looking cool.
Exactly, it looks
really
amazing.
cool.
I think it looks
Like,
amazing.
It's like right on the front of the store, these glass displays.
Yeah.
Kind of that we're talking about on it is, that draws the customer's eye to the store. And in doing that, that has an impact on their behavior and like tells them, hey, Mach wants a place where I can get good food. Or
Exactly.
that I can get this great deal on, this product or that product that he's promoting. And, what kind of advantage does that bring to them? And, is the ROI, a big enough deal to roll this out across the whole chain?
Yeah, your software is gonna give me the ability to tell me exactly how much money we're gonna make off these programs. It's not what I believe is what my customers are.
Right, and back to what you're saying.
You're gonna tell me
You got
exactly what
bias
my
as much
customers
as that
did
store
do.
manager does too. Yeah,
Exactly.
like, this is cool, and I think it's cool too, but like, does it
Gonna
work?
be
Does it
worth
work
the
for Mach
hundreds of
one?
thousands of dollars
Yeah.
that it's gonna take to bring this company wide? Your software is telling me that answer as we speak.
Next thing I'd love to figure out for it this week is, there's folks coming inside, what does that basket look like once they come in? Like,
What are they buying? So
were
you
they
got
buying
out
from there?
pumps,
What
you got them in.
was drawing? Because you're running a bunch of different ads on those displays. Which ones are driving the behavior? Because, if it gets to the point where you've got the displays, you've got that front cost of that, but then it's just, the value add is the content that you're putting on there and
Yeah.
the behavioral impact that you can drive from that. Some things are gonna impact that a lot.
So
more than
the
others.
pilot program we're talking about, it's basically a digital reader board, but it's not out on the price sign, it's on the front of the building through the windows. And you're not marketing people driving down the road, you're marketing to a person fueling up at your store already and trying to get them to come buy stuff. So we have thrown aggressive discounts on products across multiple categories. One of them is we put a really aggressive discount on our fountain drinks. And and there's other items, other things was our proprietary food. I thought our fountain sales were gonna go like this, because, we took 50% of the price off. Our fountain sales have done that didn't change customer behavior one time. Our food service sales, it's up 400%. And what it tells me is a person that is at the pumps getting gas, they knew before they even pulled into my store whether they were gonna buy a fountain drink or not. Me discounting that price didn't change what they were gonna do. They don't want a 32-ounce Coke just because I took 40 cents off it. But we've got brownies that we are marked half off. Most people at the pumps probably had no idea that we even had that product inside their store. And they now walk in to buy that, and what else are they buying?
Exactly.
Is what John's talking about for the next step.
Yeah, what basket did you grab? Like, cause, he said, I think it was like, 6% increase in conversion this time, okay? Is that a $10 basket? $50 basket.
Exactly.
Like, is it moms coming in to buy lunch for the whole family after the soccer trip in the afternoon? Is that when you're driving them there? So you can make sure that adds like a great time of the day.
That equipment's $30,000. So, you multiply 30 by 25 and, you know, you wanna see an ROI
It's a
on
few
that.
dollars there.
It
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and so,
And you can't,
it's a lot easier
can't
to
just
sell
go
that
on
to.
your own gut decision, like, it's cool.
Exactly. I think it looks amazing, but at the end of the day, if you're gonna spend that kind of money, it probably needs to make money at some point.
We got a question.
I got a quick question. So, and Bryan, you may or may not know this, but Alan, it seems like you're pretty aggressive with pricing promotions and whatnot. Were you always like that prior to Taiga, or Taiga just, it allowed you to change pricing promotions or promotions faster, to larger scale?
Yeah, I'd say the best way to look at Taiga is, it is a much easier and, since it's much easier, we do it more often, analyzing the results of our pricing behavior and what we're gonna do. I mean, it's no big secret. I mean, look at our industry. So you've got wage inflation going what it's doing. For new development, just like anybody, we've got 8% interest rates. You know, we're in Illinois, so we're in a very heavily taxed state. Money's gotta come from somewhere. You can't have everything in your store be a loss leader, then you're just losing money. So, you know, coming up with figuring out where you're gonna be able to attain money, and then coming up with aggressive strategies to market to, you know, ultimately, what are the people that they're gonna buy what you're buying independent of your price point? It is a very inelastic product. And then what are things that you can throw in promotion calendars that you see huge increases in sales? We used to get that data from either the vendors, or we would have somebody in our house, and in-house, compile basically a spreadsheet, and it would say, here's what you did this month compared to last month. But it would take hours to compile it, and it would take hours to go through it as all these SKUs. I mean, the great thing with him is, you know, if I wanna know how many great 5-hour energies I sold last week, he would show, oh, here's great 5-hour energy last week by store, here's the percentage increase or decrease from the week before that, here's the trend line, and here's when people are buying it. What that information tells you, like, we could probably look at the exact same things, and it might try to tell your story, you might think a different story than I do, but it's there for you to start making your decisions. So what it allows us to do is react a lot quicker and make price changes a lot faster than what we used to, because we didn't have the data there to react to it.
Okay, very good points there on that. And just think of it like all the change within some of these categories, like, you know, energy shots or energy drinks, seltzers and stuff like that, these flavor profile changes. Like being able to see the growth and drain of, like, you know, the ones that are very clearly seasonal or just short-term fads, and making sure that you're, you know, optimizing that space. And, you know, you gotta think about, like, your stores are, you know, basically the most expensive, you know, real estate around. Like every single one of those facings is real estate.
Exactly.
And if you're not putting the right stuff in there, you're leaving money on the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
What I always despise in our company is when people say, well, that's the way we've always done it. Well, I think that's a horrible reason we should do something.
Right.
And you get people that say that, and you also get people that say, well, that's just either what the industry does, or this is how it should be done. Well, where do you get that? How do you know that's the way things should be done?
Right.
If you never try to change your strategy and to look to see what the results are you trying to tell your customers what they want, or should you let your customers tell you what they want? I'd much rather do the latter. You gotta have the data, access to the data to even know what they're trying to tell you.
Right. Yeah, it's like, you know, Bryan here, tech guy, old adage of, you know, nobody ever got fired from buying IBM. It's like that, where, like, you know, like when you're making gut decisions, data-driven decisions, you know, you're gonna be a lot more cagey on where you place bets. So we're gonna do it the way we always did it before, because we know the way we always did it before works. And intuitively, we have that bias that, oh, it's gonna continue to work. this week, and, you know, how do you make money in that environment? Because we're gonna have to make money in it, and people that can react quickly and change quickly and make small bets that, you know, they can grow exponentially.
Win by series of singles.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about, like, you know, employees, bonus programs, stuff like that. From like a labor, you know, obviously labor is a huge expense. How are you guys leveraging this from a, you know, scheduling perspective? You know, how is it impacting, you from analyzing customer traffic, where you're placing resources in store? From
You're probably more qualified to answer that.
I mean, it's the number one cost we got. To me, how efficient you are with your labor is the number one driver of your profitability. So, when you are looking at, well, I guess there's two parts to this. So, how you're putting together your scheduling, and you want that to match up with when your customers are there. The problem is that data changes all the time. There's a lot of volatility. For one, we're very weather driven. We are very driven by where fuel prices are in any specific market you're in. So it's really hard to try to react to the volatility of customer counts. And there's so much data there to try to manage that to affect that schedule. We historically would go through that twice a year and try to tweak our schedules. And we still are doing it twice a year from a large scale, but now we can come in and someone say, hey, we need to add labor here. And we don't have to go back and pull anything. We can have that conversation right on the spot when one of these store managers do this. So that's part of it. Kind of what I was describing there, that is the traditional style setup. We have actually moved to self-checkout at a lot of stores. We are at self-checkout over half our stores. So we'll have 3 self-checkouts, and we got 1 manned register. So, it can be a great customer service tool to have 3 self-checkouts, 1 manned register, because you can get through lines really quickly. Where that fails miserably is if none of your customers are using your self-checkout. Now you've got a 1 register for a 4 register customer traffic level. And, like me and Dave back there, we'd come into our stores and you'd see customers just lined up in that 1 register. And there is literally nothing more painful in my life than watching that. So it's all about delivering that messaging. Same thing here. I can look any given day, or the last 30 days, the last 90 days. I can show the stores that we have these self-checkouts, how much self-checkouts are doing versus the manned register, and how that compares their store to any of the other 12 stores that we got it, and how that's changing over time. So, you know, a big driver of customer behavior with self-checkout is how are we handling the checkout experience. That is really driven by the entry-level employee or the store-level employee. So you can even see it to where who we have in that area will change the customer behavior. So when you see high usage of the self-checkout, and then you say, okay, and that might be John's shift, and you say, well, John, you are really good at kind of managing the customer flow and really good at the
What is he
customer
doing
side.
differently?
What is he doing differently?
Is it his
We want you to
personality?
go
Is it
show.
what he's saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it where he's standing?
Yeah.
Is it his body language?
Yep.
And
You need to go show
he-
Bryan, because
yeah.
Bryan sucks at it.
Some of you, I mean, you even go look at the camera, like, oh, that is what he's doing differently, and then, you know, cause he might not even recognize it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an excellent point there, like, really being able to go from the 30,000 foot on what you're trying to solve, what decision you're trying to make, and then get all the way down to the granular level. Okay, this is the reason why it works, or this is the reason why it's not quite working, or it's failing miserably, and start making some adjustments.
And, you know, that's a great way of saying it, John. You know, everything we're talking about here, 30,000 foot level, we had 30,000, I don't need you for the 30,000 foot level. That data's always been there, it's been there since I've ever been there. But, you know, how you get to the point of 30,000 level is done by the 1 foot level.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, whether we're talking margins, pricing,
And that decision is
traffic.
very micro. And that-
Exactly.
But the M-PACT is macro, and where you start the decision.
You're at the 1 foot level, and then that ultimately can change to the 1,000 foot level.
We're starting to get close on time here, so kind of shift it a little bit, kind of go over to questions from the crowd here. Does anybody have any questions for these smart retailers out there? No one? All right, is there some?
Do the managers have the power to themselves look at it and make decisions right there, or how is that?
So, chain by chain, that's a little different, you know, some chains will give managers access to maybe one or a few different dashboards that are very specific to them. Bryan mentioned the one that they use for the bonus program. You know, they might just have something like that. Some will let them see them versus others within their district, or maybe across the whole chain, so they can see, you know, have that competitive aspect. And then some might just have them being emailed reports and stuff like that out of the platform, because you can automate reporting on schedule. So, you know, right before their morning meeting, they get it right in their inbox, or maybe there's a weekly district meeting that all the manager or at the district manager all get their report right before that, something of that order as well. So really kind of runs the gamut, and really it should be aligned to the organizational strategy of your chain. So it's one of the things that our education team will coach you through as we're working together on you know, partnering on your projects. Okay, you know, what is the way for your chain, and then how do we, you know, layer measurement and data on top of that so that you can change to be more data driven? Excellent question. Anything you guys have there? Oh, sir.
Probably more pointed towards Bryan, on the assumption that you have a pretty robust IT department and you probably have co-writers at your scale. What made you make the decision to partner with a third party versus doing something like this internally?
Yeah. It came down to this, to say, I mean, I understand 84 stores, you think we're only 7 people in my department, including myself. What we found was, I had, in some cases, 2 people a week that were consumed with, when they should have been doing so many other, what I call, so IT, everything IT is more important than what you need. I mean, funny, of course, but they were consumed with creating reports for users that weren't able to do their own reports. So we wanted a platform that was just, I think Alan said on the phone call we had a couple weeks ago, he said, their platform is designed for reporting, whereas the other one just kind of had reporting as a added benefit. So to give that user that ability to create their own reports any way they want to see it, without having to keep coming to our IT department and going,
Yeah.
I'm having a problem here, I don't understand, because the training was, and and this isn't exaggeration, of all the products that we've helped support, this was the easiest lift and the fastest training. Their team created little training videos, enough to keep attention, you know, that we're utilizing for that end user to learn how to use the report. So it even takes more away from the onus from us. So, and we're, you know, it's XML files that we're creating anyway for other programs that we're using, and so it was just all right there, but they're able to just take those KPIs out without me having to utilize my programmer to go, okay, now I'm gonna spend the next 40 hours creating a specific report. So that was the true win from our side. We were able to, I don't know if save money is the right word, but we didn't have to look down the road and go, do we need to add somebody for all these reporting? We knew at that point we didn't have to do that with that partnership. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a quick follow-up, back office wise, what did you guys, or what did you have at the time you partnered?
I rely, and we still do.
Okay.
The PDI. Yeah.
And just kind of add on your point there, Bryan, like, you know, being from a software development background myself, I know that, you know, software developers and programmers, you know, ad hoc reporting isn't the most enriching and exciting work to do, and so getting bogged down, I gotta make a report for so-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so.
Yeah.
Now those guys can, you know, spend their time doing stuff that's strategic for you.
Correct.
Yeah. Whereas, you know, before they were, you know, day-to-day service of all those reports. That's the question, yeah.
Alan, when you mentioned half your stores are self-check, how long, or did you keep someone, a cashier, besides a main cashier, did you keep a cashier out helping them learn to use or directing them to the self-checkouts?
Yeah.
And if you did, for how long?
Well, so, here's how we typically structure it. We've got what we call our checkout cashier, so they can be either, behind the checkout cabinetry and greeting the customers as they come up, or they can be in front greeting the customers as they come in, actually walk them to them. And then we have a sales floor cashier, and then we've got our management. That is generally kind of the structure of our self-checkouts. The idea is, and we will roll that out basically right out of the gate. If somebody needs help if we need a second person, so we have truck stops and we have smart desk, or if a customer needs more help that is involved than just quick, all of our customers, employees have headsets. So the idea is that the main cashier is taking the customer line. When somebody needs more involvement than that, then we call over the sales floor cashier and say, we need you back at the checkout to come address that. That's the pretty standard structure we've got.
Did you have a percentage ratio that you got to, that you, a target to hit?
We do, so we start, and we didn't know, I mean, it was almost arbitrary, but we started with a 55% target rate. So transactions inside the store, take out the fuel, but take out the fuel at the pumps. Transactions inside the store, our goal was to get to 55%. We now are running at 77% of our transactions on self-checkout. And that is a very important KPI that we have, that we send out to the DMs, GMs, and that is a regular discussion at those stores. And to this point, like gets measured gets managed, I think you said earlier, and I completely agree with that. When you're showing them like their trends and how they're performing at it, and some of them, I don't know how many people have self-checkout, but you know, it's a big believer, customers hate your self-checkout. You hear that all the time. And I'm a big believer in hating customer lines. So, and self-checkout is amazing at breaking customer lines. So when you hear certain managers say, well, we had 3 people complain, and that's why I can't get anyone to use them. I'm like, well, look at these stores, look at your peers in the same markets you're in, and look at where they're doing it. Like, you don't have to take my word that people are buying into this idea. The customer base is doing this. And so let's change that behavior in your store.
We have time for one more here.
Mine's really kind of a 2-part question. So Bryan mentioned earlier there was a heat trace map or something that's in part of the software. So in that heat trace map, is that data being taken out of from product that's off the shelf being bought, being placed in certain areas to create this heat trace map?
So a variety of different visualizations. So you know, heat maps are just one way to visualize. You know, I think what Bryan was talking about was it customer traffic or yeah. So basically, a customer traffic heat map based off of time of day over the course of the week, and so you can see, you know, okay, well here's our hot points and here's our cold points, and you know, just very quickly, you know, get that visual understanding. You know, but there's a variety of other ways to visualize data, and that's one of the things we pride ourselves on, is providing a user experience that is tailored to whoever, you know, role or cohort within the organization, so that, you know, it makes sense to how they work.
My second part. So Alan, how do you? So taking the data that you take out of the software, knowing that this candy bar, take this is a hot button, right? It sells pretty hot. You then take that, maybe place it somewhere else where you're trying to drive sales towards something else that you're maybe trying to push, and you'll be able to utilize the software in that manner to push people towards that.
Well, that's exactly, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest parts of the software. And it might be a candy bar, it might be food service, you know, a big part is the novelty type of stuff, you know, you're trying to figure out is, you know, for me, it's trying to figure out in our store, what would a customer buy that he wasn't planning on buying before he walked in that store, and trying to figure out that product category. And if you're you're always gonna come to market with the exact same thing, and you're never changing your behavior, then the data's not gonna tell you anything. You know, you have to change your strategies and see those results. So to your point, Rich, like you start moving products, whether it be a candy bar, whether it be a, you know, sandwiches or whatever pop, you know, we're getting big into popcorn now. And trying to figure out where you can market that and get customers to say, well, I wasn't planning on buying that, but now I will. You can't get those until you start moving those things around.
You can also see the impact of that on the other things in the basket, so we do a lot of, we have a lot of machine learning AI that are built into the underlying model, so Alan can go look right at that popcorn and say, okay, here are the other items that are, that customers most likely to buy it with. And so, cross promote or make placement to drive them past that.
Yeah, to me, that's your product relationship report. And
Yep.
to me, that's your big lawsuit report is, you know, you do have things that you're trying to drive traffic, you're trying to drive purchases. And those are the things that, you know, you're going to accept lower margins on because it's the
Drive a
incentive
bigger
purchases.
basket, yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I always think of your product relationship report is what can I sell you at a really cheap price and maybe get you to buy these things with my margin on it.
Yeah, that's impressive. I think, pretty much, yeah, we're out of time here, but, thank you, Alan, thank you, Bryan, thank you to everybody who came this morning, I hope this was,